In your morning consumer news, the IRS is shrinking again. Roughly 22,000 employees are accepting the Trump administration's deferred resignation. Yesterday was the deadline to accept the buyout. That resulted in a 25% reduction in the workforce. That was the second time the offer was made. About 4,700 workers left during the first round, which was completed last month. And U.S. wholesale prices fell last month. That is an indication of a strong economy before Trump's tariffs kicked in. The producer price index showed prices paid fell 0.4% in March and slowed on an annual basis to 2.7%. This key inflation measure is being closely watched as economists assess how the president's new trade policies might impact consumers. And another sign of a changing economy, Canadian tourism to the U.S. is plunging. In March, the number of Canadians driving into the U.S. dropped a staggering 32% over the same time last year. Air traffic also plummeted 13.5%. The U.S. Travel Association warned in February that just a 10% drop in Canadian tourism would cost the U.S. about $2 billion. This follows 2 years of growth in inbound tourism. Canadians historically make up about a quarter of foreign visitors, making them the largest group of international tourists. And anxiety over air travel is elevated for many people following several recent high-profile incidents, including a belly-up jet in Toronto and that deadly crash in Washington, D.C. But as Michael George explains, the data shows it is still safe to fly.
Airline travelers are going about their business, but what seems like a string of recent safety incidents has some people more concerned about taking flight.
I feel like it just creates anxiety, basically.
The CBS News Confirmed team shared a recent Storyful analysis showing conversations about aviation incidents were up 243% on X and 71% on Reddit in the U.S. compared to early 2024. And conversations about flight anxiety jumped 72% and 22% respectively.
Usually when one thing catches on, it's just kind of a tumbleweed at that point.
In reality, safety incidents are rare. Last year, there were about 1,500 accidents reported among more than 7.4 million domestic flights. That's less than 0.02%.
We can go 2 million flights before we would expect a serious injury to occur.
Retired pilot and aviation expert Kit Darby says the digital age is making mishaps top of mind.
We have color video almost instantly of any problem that occurs, and that makes it so much more real. It makes it more exciting, and it makes it seem more prevalent. And when actually it's not. Statistically, our accident rate has been going down steadily since the 70s.
Experts say one way to deal with any emotional feelings about flying is to counter them with facts, namely that flying remains extremely safe. Some simple things you can do on board: wear your seatbelt all the time, pay attention to announcements and crew instructions, and leave your carry-ons in an emergency.
I have two things that I do. I glance in at the cockpit when I walk in, and I always pay attention when they tell us just because it's rude to just not pay attention.
One more precaution: always know where the nearest exits are. It might not be the door where you entered.